kids need to know the value of sacrifice.
Yes, I agree. There is one place they can learn about sacrifice. If they tune in on WMAD and the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday nights, they can learn. It's informative with current topics. And by the way, the show is hot.
The show is smoking hot.
Stress to the youth that neither racial intolerance nor lack of civility are allowable in our society. We have come a long way as a nation, and we should never let the hands of time be turned backwards. We all have to get along if we're going to engage the promise and the pluck of American freedom and democracy. United we stand, divided we fall. Join us on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Call in and let your voice be heard. Tune in on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Black is beautiful. When it is a slum kid studying to enter college. When it is a man learning new skills for a new job. Or a slum mother battling to give her kids a chance for a better life. But white also is beautiful. When it helps change society to make our system work for black people also. White is ugly when it oppresses blacks. And so is black ugly when black people exploit other blacks. No race has a monopoly on vice or virtue. And the worth of an individual is not related to the color of his skin. 1969, written by Whitney Moore Young, Jr. Jesse Owens said in 1970, the rules that existed for all of those years of slavery still haven't been broken down 100% socially or mentally. Until you, white man, can see me walk into a restaurant and not stare any more than you would if another white walked in, the house of prejudice still stands. And until you, black man, can walk into that same restaurant and not expect to see those stares and not care if you do, you're still sharecropping. Good afternoon and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. On tonight, the topic is this: brutality in 2016 on innocent lives being taken. Is force nowadays too excessive? What can we do to tone down all the hate, the brutality, and get back to protecting and serving? You see, we know that many lives have been taken in the past years, and most recent in the past 24 to 48 hours. The mild-mannered individual people have become aggressive, and the silent ones still remain silent. People are choosing sides, but the question is, are they choosing the right side to ensure what we call here in America justice? Tonight we're going to be joined by Mr. Dave Lamont. I see Miss Paula out there. I see Vanessa out there. And Aaron Hopkins will be joining us. And I see Nikki out there. Now let me make sure that people understand. I don't have to apologize for anything that I say regarding a drum major for justice. You don't have to apologize for anything that you may say for justice as well. So when we look at all of these idiots, and I mean that to the core, all of these idiots who can talk about all of these things that matter. You talk about people being shot and killed. But the first thing you want to do is justify a criminal record or a criminal background or some other type background when we all have a past. I know people that supposed to be some of the greatest people. But if you look into their closet and you look long enough, you're going to find something that you can call a fault. So when I see some of my friends, so-called friends now, on Facebook talking all this stuff about this, that, does, and I hope some of them are listening right now because I would love to have a face-to-face comment. My point is this. You can keep your hands to yourself and you won't ever have a problem. But if you think for one reason that you can put your hands on innocent people who have been mild-mannered and even-tempered up until now, I cannot guarantee you what the outcome will be. Does it sound like a person who is upset? Yes. But an ignorant person will think that this voice is angry. Well, that proves that you're ignorant because I am farther away from being angry than I am being logical. Nikki Beverett, Dave Lamont, Aaron Hopkins, Vanessa, Paula. Good afternoon to you guys.
Hello. Hi, Darren.
Let's look at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's start there first. We see several videos that shows an altercation. We see another video that gives you another different angle. Now, we're not here to try or be the judge and the jury. We're talking about what we have seen thus far. We're not only talking about what we have seen thus far in the last 48 hours. We're talking about 500 and some odd individuals who've been killed up until July the 6th, July the 7th of 2016. Were they justified? Were they called police brutality? Or were they called unjustifiable killings, or whatever term you choose to call? Let me start with you, Vanessa. Down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we see what we have seen. People are troubled. As I indicated in the outset, people are taking sides. People are choosing what side of the fence they want to be on. People's emotions are running high. Based on what you've seen, Vanessa, thus far, tell us what your state of mind is as an individual who have some boys, a boy at least. Tell us what is your state of mind when it comes to your son who happens to be born black in America. Vanessa Gazi.
Well, my state of mind is I've been on Facebook pretty much all day going back and forth with different individuals. And what some people don't seem to understand that when something like this happens, and then, like you said, when people start getting divided and giving their opinions, they keep missing the point. That's what irritates me so bad, is that you keep missing the point. And I hate to say it, but I hear more from who I thought were logical black people making comments about still using that phrase, black on black crime. And some of these people, they go to church, and they always quote the Bible. So I had to light up to a few of them earlier today. But they actually started kind of like coming around and understanding what I was saying. But when you keep missing the point about justice and inequality, nobody is saying that if some of these guys did something wrong, if they actually did something wrong, okay, they deserve to be in jail. They robbed something, or they did have a gun in their hand, or they ran up to the police with a machete. But these people aren't doing that. So when you see a white person actually physically fighting with two white police officers, and the guy just ran out of the place, and they didn't even pull their weapons. They didn't even tase. I think they tried to tase him, but he pulled the tasers out. So everybody thinks that we've done something wrong every time a police approach us. And we don't, that's what they don't understand. It doesn't matter if that person did something wrong. If you pull them over for speeding, and that man ends up, or that female ends up shot to death, you don't shoot somebody because they were speeding, and that person was black and that officer was white. You don't shoot somebody because their tail light is busted out. If you give direction to say, if my license are in my pocket, I have to go in my pocket to get my license. So people don't understand that when they give us a command and then when we do what they say, we end up getting shots for it. Or they'll say, well, if he was doing this, then he would still be alive. Or if he just did what the police officer told him. It doesn't work that way with us.
Mm-hmm.
We can comply day and night. We still get killed. It's not complying. And then when they say, oh, well, he was resisting arrest, or somebody even one of my relatives had the nerve to say that the guy in Louisiana was resisting arrest. Okay, but the point, he wasn't resisting arrest. He was on the ground. He had two big burly cops on top of him. He was a big guy. He wasn't even moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take the gun out of his pocket after the fact. That's what gets me is when my own people can't see that.
Mm-hmm.
All they see is what they've been taught to see: a black man, a criminal. Oh, he had a background. Okay, you sound like a white supremacist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Vanessa.
If I do something illegal, then I want you to treat me the same way you treated that white person who did the same thing that they did that was illegal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what we're talking about, equal justice. Nobody is for the criminal. Nobody is saying that, we're supposed to do bad things to get away with it. What we're saying is it's not fair. We end up dead, they end up in jail.
Okay, Vanessa. Let me take this over to Nikki. Nikki, I've seen a lot of your posts, and I've seen by way of your own posts, I've seen a little, I'm gonna say hurt, a little disappointment, a little of this and a little of that, coming from once again another country. Another country that is basically different than this country in a lot of aspects. But when we get down to the facts of humanity, when we get down to the facts of human nature and just everybody being treated equally, not being judged by the character, but the color, but the content of their character. What is it that you see in the Baton Rouge shooting, along with the Minnesota shooting that happened less than 24 hours after that, with regards to brutality or potential brutality in 2016 when it comes to young African American males and or black males as a whole?
I see simply two unarmed men being killed because they were black. Really cut and dried, simple. The when I watched the Baton Rouge tape, when the police officer was on, the one that shot, that pulled the gun first, he put that gun to the man's chest and neck, point blank. I think I've been dealing all day too, Vanessa, with I answer black on black crime like this. So if the black man kills another black man, you can be shit sure he's going to jail for the rest of his life, Cut and dried. Okay? What does that have to do with this? The racism, the fear, the white anxiety, the way the black man is viewed in this society as thug is being done by the media, but I think it's just always being done. The implicit bias that these policemen are carrying. I was reading about police academies today, and the recruitment videos are full of this macho kind of stuff. showing them with guns and putting on armor and this type of thing. The article I read today said this is an article on London. It attracts a certain type, you know, puts on the uniform, the guns. Now he goes to the police academy. He gets 60 hours of training in lethal force, 60 hours of training in self-defense, and 8 hours of training in conflict resolution. So you're putting a uniform on a man that has, you know, personally, is carrying whatever he's carrying. You put him on the street. There's an implicit bias in there. He sees that the black man is sitting. Why did he even mess with him? Why did he even mess with him? Dr. Boyce was yesterday saying, why do they mess with us? You know, somebody's selling illegal cigarettes. And the confrontation that they bring to that, and the man is killed for resenting someone trying to entrap him. The man is killed for resisting arrest. I don't care what all of the excuses are. There is supposed to be, America, due process. Okay? You're doing something illegal. You are arrested. You are booked. You are charged. Okay? You have a right to a trial or a plea. Trial by two. This is vigilante justice on the street. And then we come back and we hear these comments like, well, he had a criminal record. Well, he shouldn't have moved. You know, quite simply, the Huffington Post ran an article today. 2 ways not to be killed in America. Don't be black and move to another country. If you don't want to be killed in America, be black. Okay, just don't be black or move to another country. Because I think every single time the police confront a black man in America, that possibility exists. And it's becoming the norm with women, too. Sandra Bland. I mean, if you ever want to see a sickening video, there's another one. You know, they come with this idea, and one wrong move, and that gun comes off. No, 1 shot, 2 shots, a man's on the ground, 5 shots. 5. Laquan McDonald, 16. Simply because he's black. Black. That's the way I see it.
Okay. Let's forward to Minnesota. We know that the Minnesota governor, along with Louisiana governor, have come out and made statements. Paula, when you look on social media and the television, and you see these live graphic videos of a life being taken when 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was unheard of that you would have that opportunity. When you see an individual's life taken, and you feel that justice was not a part of that life being taken, when it shouldn't be a part of it anyway, because it's innocent life, how do you see this thing that we're talking about tonight, brutality in 2016 on innocent lives being taken, and is the force excessive? Talk to us about that a little, Paula.
I think that too many policemen put on the uniform, they get a little bit of training, they're out there, but what kind of background checks are being put on these people that are put into power? They take an oath to serve and protect their community. And I just posted a video of a black female police officer who was enraged. She said that when she decided to become a policewoman, she took the oath to serve and protect, and she wanted to work in the black community to protect and serve the people there. And she said that if you are a white racist, you take that uniform off now. That if you are in any way prejudiced you take that uniform off now. And I agree with her. I agree with her 100%. There are people walking around as policemen that have this sense of empowerment and entitlement, and I think they have fear, and it's shoot first, ask questions later. And they don't ask questions later because the person's dead. And I have been upset all day long. I mean, I've watched the videos, and I'm shocked by. Well, I'm not shocked by them. I remember Rodney King being beaten to death out in California, and there were race riots all over the United States. It's not new.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going on for years and years and years. But the people that are dead are not getting due process. They're not getting arrested. Those cops that killed that guy, they didn't have time to check his record. They didn't know that he had had a criminal record in the past. They just shot him. And I have been almost in tears all day long because I think that we should have come farther than this by now. And it keeps going on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too much.
Right.
The policemen should have to go through background checks. The policemen have to go through psychological examinations. The policemen should have to take training. They should have to take some kind of an exam that will reveal how they operate mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
It's not happening. They're getting a uniform, they're getting a gun, and they're doing whatever they want.
Right. I understand exactly what you're saying, Paula. And I know from, and please, ladies, don't take this wrong, from a female's standpoint, it hits a little deeper. Not that it's deeper than a man's heart. My point is that we all deal with situations different. Let me throw this thing over to Dave Lamont, who I'm almost certain is going to bring a different perspective in. Dave, thanks for that post about the Second Amendment, that it was never meant for African Americans. So let's fast forward to now, Dave. When you look at these incidents, they're no longer isolated incidents. They are actual incidents. It's like it's almost common. Dave Lamont, when you see these incidents, or these almost common incidents, or these common incidents now in 2016, where do your mind go, and how would you like to bring balance to this conversation when it comes to brutality in 2016 on some of these innocent lives, if not all? Well, let me back up. On these innocent lives that we're seeing taken, 520 some odd lives being taken up until now, July the 6th, July the 7th. Talk to me, Dave Lamont from Screens from the Center.
Thank you very much for having me again. The way that I'm looking at this is from the only kind of perspective that I can actually take, since I tend to not be involved with police officers directly. And I want to bring up a few of the things that said by the other hosts concerning police qualifications, and make my case that I don't necessarily think that the police in and of themselves are racist. However, I do believe that we are breeding a specific type of police officer, which is, by definition, going to prey on minority groups. Not out of racism, but out of ignorance. So let's go over a couple of the things that are required for most police officers. It's just citizenship, age requirement, a GED or a high school diploma, driver's license, and a fitness requirement. There are no, as was pointed out, there are no specific psychological exams, and in fact, we've seen cases being brought before the court of people who have applied to become police officers who scored in the upper 1 percentile on their entrance exam. Now, what this means is the police department are not taking the best and the brightest. They're taking the average people. And why are they taking the average people? Well, in your state of Louisiana, for instance, the starting wage of a police officer is $12.14 an hour.
Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
$5,000 a year.
Talk to me, Dave. Talk to me.
What kind of people? Yeah, exactly. What kind of people are you going to attract to a thankless job like police officer and only pay them $25,000 a year? You're going to attract people who are looking for that power fit. So the system is not looking for people who are going to necessarily attack minorities, but it is looking for people who are in for power because they're not in it for the money. And that kind of person tends to like to prey on the weaker people, people that they perceive as weak. So that's my case that I'm being made tonight about the police officer. I don't think it's about racism. I think that they're looking for nearly incompetent people who are in for a power rush, and that breeds that type of behavior.
Right. Dave, I understand exactly what you're saying. And my only position on what you're saying is that people, when they're, and you think you addressed that, when people have not walked in the shoes that you're walking in, there's going to be a little less understanding. But you hit the nail on the head. Sometimes there are friends who are given a badge. Sometimes there are people who were the worst one in the community who were given a badge. Sometimes we know how these people feel about certain people. They're given a badge. So you are exactly right. Belinda's saying that she thinks it's fear-based. I had another message that came in that said, I have been thinking about the Willie Lynch speech all day. And this is from a white Caucasian. It is still alive and well today. Fear, let us keep the whole black community living in fear. This breaks my heart. The tears just keep flowing. And my comment was, it's no longer fear in the black community. It has turned to more mistrust and more anger. And as a result of more mistrust and more anger, you're going to have more problems, because I have said it before many times, and I'll say it again. Those kids who came from the civil rights era, those kids who were born as a result of those who came out of the civil rights era, such as the Tupacs, such as the NWAs, such as the A.Q. Riggins, such as the B. Glasses, the Aaron Hopkins. What I'm trying to tell you is this: people are not going to accept and tolerate what used to be normal in the 60s, in that era. It's just not going to happen. People better wake up. They better realize and understand that people better learn how to sit down at the table of diversity and the table of justice in order for us to achieve the goal that we need to be achieving. Now, if we look at these people who we have elected, these people that we have elected in office, okay, Nikki, how do you propose that the communities as a whole, black, white, red, brown, purple, yellow, whatever color you choose to be called, how do you propose we deal with that particular aspect by getting people to understand when you sit on your rear end and don't go and vote, then you become a part of the problem, and you allow things like this to happen because you allow those who should not be in office to become in office. Talk to me, Nikki.
I think there's the general inertia that unless it directly affects someone, and I've found this out over weeks and weeks of this, they have an unconcern about it. It doesn't affect my life. It's something that happens over there. I read a statistic today that 75% of white people only have white friends. The slum is something remote. The inner city is something remote. You go into the city, you avoid those areas, so it doesn't affect me. I think that I love what Dave brought up. I used to wonder what kind of, when someone wants to be what kind of person decides they want to be a prison officer, to have that kind of control power over people. I love what Dave said, but here's the rub with that, Dave. When you have a system that at the highest echelons of government, policies are enacted, laws are enacted, like the crime laws, that from that level, okay, we have a punitive system that is systematically racist at its core. So you have at the highest level the government policies. Now they filter down, okay? And by the time they reach that brute that's put on the uniform, he knows he is sanctioned by the state. He is sanctioned to do this. He knows he can do it. He's enacting the tacit understanding, that black is thug, black is criminal. We're going to put them. We're going to lock them up. The death is only I think it's Ta-Nehisi Coates says the death is only the superlative form of a great deal of humiliations that go on as well. The friskings, the stoppings, the beatings, the constant taunting of the black man. And man, if he doesn't comply and say yes, sir, his ass is in a jam. I mean, but it's sanctioned at all levels. Mm-hmm. The two victims here, we've heard it before. We've heard, okay, there's going to be an FBI investigation. There's going to be this, going to be that. Did it help Trayvon? Where do they go? In 2-3 weeks it becomes yesterday's news.
Right.
Except for the communities and the people and the mothers that have lost sons and the wives that have lost husbands and the children that have lost fathers. That very human aspect of it is always lost.
Right.
But when you have a system, so I don't know, where do you start the bottom? And yes, there is activism, and yes, color changes all over the place. Black Lives Matter is all over the place. And they're trying to work within a system to get these people in office to support that. So this case is going to be an investigation, then it's going to go to a grand jury. I sometimes wonder how many people on that grand jury are black. There was 1 in 3 black men in jail, and so many being felons. What representation is there at jury level? You're supposed to have a trial by a jury of your peers. Okay? These so the grand jury is no charges. Or it brought with some charges. I saw someone got failure to supervise the other day. She happened to be a black woman in the Trayvon case. They gave her failure, her charge was failure to supervise. She wasn't really involved in it. The ones that did the killing got nothing. So they're not even being held accountable, and what does that say right down at that level? So the guy that puts on his uniform in the morning and gets into a thing with a black man on the street, and this idea, it is power, and it is, it's power, and it's the to me as I see it, it is the you swim around in American culture. You have almost contacted or you've almost like a family disease. It's being passed down. I was in Kentucky a couple of weeks ago. and I mean, it was evil there. It was, and it was battle. You know, it was. So I don't know how we get there. And I don't think there's any patience left. I read today that these two killings should be the Emmett Till moment. You know, they should be the Emmett Till moment. That mobilize the people. That say, hey, you know what? Enough is enough is enough.
Right.
Whether we get it there on Sunday, you know.
Right. Let me read this. Here's where the individual who talked about fear, but this right here is going to be a different type of fear. See, some people think of fear as being afraid. This type of fear is being afraid because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Let me read you this. So now, I am forced to sit down at the table with my wife and my son to elevate his attendance at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana next month. Why must I do this, you ask? Because he is an 18-year-old black male born in America. I'm not going to teach my son to be afraid to live and work and study while he's there. I will, however, teach him how to survive daily. It will require some hard choices and discipline on all fronts. But here's a kicker. But if you accidentally murder mine, don't expect no damn peaceful response here. That was written by our host right now, Mr. Aaron Hopkins. Aaron, I feel your pain. I understand what you're going to. Talk to me, Aaron. Your son is going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which Scotlandville, Louisiana, which is right less than 100 feet, 100 yards from Southern University campus, which at one time back in the 80s was the worst place that you could ever go in the state of Louisiana, Scotlandville, Louisiana. Talk to me, Hodge, about your state of mind based on what is taking place, exactly where your child has to go. As a matter of fact, bear in mind, my oldest niece is a police officer in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My niece is down there as a teacher in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My nephew may be going to school, transferring there to Southern University. Several of my friends and my family graduated from Southern University, Baton Rouge. Aaron Hopkins, talk to me, and then I'm going to bring in Aunt Jerry, or then I'm open up the lines. Go ahead on, Aaron Hopkins.
Baron, obviously, the last couple of days have been very trying, very emotional. And I'm a thinker, so I tend to always sit back and analyze things before I say something, before I react. This situation, and I think one of the most traumatizing, one of the most traumatizing parts of this is what we're able to visually see and hear two human beings actually witness a murder of a loved one within 5 to 10 feet. In the case in Minnesota, this woman was literally sitting in the seat next to where she could reach out. If she would have reached out far enough, she could have touched the officer who just shot her boyfriend. So the psychology and the psychological damage that we're all being affected by, it's only going to do one or two things. We're either going to be able to assess what our next steps are, along with the reactions, which are all going to, there's no way humanly possible for there not to be any emotion involved. But in terms of prevention, because see, we're in a situation where we always have to react at the point where somebody's life has been taken, and then of course, there's anger, there's pain, there's all these things, and so in that, Baron, it brought me to that point that I said I don't want, and I don't put my son's life above any other child's life. That's not my intention for making that statement. However, knowing that same hurt, and pain that we're all witnessing and seeing young men and women go through, husbands and wives, sons and daughters, it should move us to absolutely trying to prevent the next person who innocently will be cut down. Now, here's the thing that I got to get this off my chest. Because we've tried every avenue to live peacefully and not, and for lack of a better word, come into conflict with authority. So we've complied. We've sat and let officers, ask us questions before we respond. We put our hands on our steering wheel when they come to the car. We've pulled over as soon as we see their light. So in other words, what I'm saying is, even in 100% compliance, which the young man in my case that was killed in Minnesota, this gentleman, he took the initiative to tell the officer, even if the officer did not see the sticker, which the sticker was on the car, saying that this gentleman was a concealed weapon carrier. The officer acknowledged that he heard this young man say that to him, and he asked him to show him his ID. The young lady repeated what the officer said after he had put 4 bullets in this man. And the officer said, and it was clear enough where we could all hear. He said, I thought he was reaching for his gun. He had just asked this gentleman to show him his ID. So what's the chances that he would have been reaching for his gun in his back pocket, sitting down in the damn car? So we have to ask different questions now. And Dave, I appreciate what you said in terms of what kind of people are being employed by these police departments. But there's also another side to that, because a lot of these officers, they have been in combat. They come back to America after being psychologically damaged in war, and they're put on the streets in Arkansas. How in the hell does that, slide through the cracks? So there's some questions that we have to ask, but, in the meantime of asking those questions, individually, we have to do what we have to do to ensure that the lives of our loved ones, can get to the next day.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, there's a lot, man, that I want to say. I'm not going to be able to say it right now.
I understand.
But, it's just, we're in a desperate situation, man.
Right, Aaron.
Measures.
Exactly, and I understand where you're coming from, because yesterday, my soon-to-be July the 15th, 86-year-old mother told me, just be careful. And I knew exactly what she meant. I knew exactly what she was telling me, because for 40-some-odd years, she's always been telling me the same thing over and over. But she's always told me, don't you ever be afraid to stand up and speak for what you feel is right. Let me bring a little bit more passion in this conversation. I know Ongerio Cameron is out there from Little Rock, Arkansas. Ongerio, talk to us about your state of mind with regards to brutality in 2016 on innocent lives being taken. Talk to me, Ongerio.
Okay, thank you, Byron, and I'd like to say hello to all of your guests as well that's on the show. In the point that Dave was making, I wanted to make a different analogy that I see on it. When I think of ignorance and racism, it's hard for me to separate the two, because racism is ignorance.
Amen.
And when you look at the fact that you have 2.5 more black killings than you have white killings, then whoever is doing these killings cannot possibly be doing it from just a point of ignorance. This is calculated. This is cold-blooded, calculated racism and hatred. And so we are being targeted. This is targeted assassination. And they use the logistical loophole of the law that says those 7 words, I felt like my life was in danger, as an excuse. And the reason they know what they were doing, they took that man's camera because they wanted to conceal the reality of it, and not knowing that they were being recorded from the other side. Had it not been for that, they'd be lying right now and trying to finagle their way out of it. And Nikki is right. Our system is rigged from the top down. You know, when you have racism that's rigged from the top down, there's an old proverbial saying, the initials of sugar, honey, ice, and tea roll downhill. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're dealing with right there. We're dealing with a real racial epidemic that is being exposed in a way that it never has been before, but it always has been. So, yeah, we're up under the umbrella of racism and hatred and bigotry and all these other things, man, that go along with just this horrible society that has been generated through a culture of violence against the African-American people. What they're doing today is no different than what they did in slavery. Haven't changed that much. It's the same correlation is still going on.
Okay. Yeah, Ontario, excellent point. Like I said, I know each one of you guys well enough, and I can always balance the difference between this person's comment, excuse me, versus the other person's comment. Again, what we do here is we have respect for all individual guests, and that's what makes this so easy to moderate and or narrate and or quarterback this thing down the field, because I know each individual person, and I know that no one here has an ulterior motive. Let me do this right quick. Let me open up the lines right now. It's about 8:47 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight we're talking brutality in 2016 on innocent lives being taken. Is it excessive? Is force too excessive? What can we do to tone down the hate, the brutality, and get back to protecting and serving? Anybody on the line would like to come in and talk, add a conversation to what we've already added, you may do so. I'll pause for a moment. Any callers? There being none, let me take this thing right back to Vanessa. Vanessa, out there in Houston, Texas, you are living in a large area. Let's kind of shift gears a little. What is it that we can do without choosing the other side or this side, but choose the right side? What is it that we can do to at least try to get back to what law enforcement should be, which is protecting and serving all people of all colors from all aspects of America? What is it that you think we can do?
I think actually having meetings with the police officers and having meetings with their chiefs or whoever they are that's in charge, like a town meeting, and air out what's going on in the neighborhood. Because as a matter of fact, we had a young man here that was shot to death by the police the same way as the young man in Minnesota. And they're still investigating that one. And I think police officers should be held accountable for whatever they do, or what, you know, that we know that they did something wrong, but we have to make the ones upstairs, just like they were saying, the people up at the top are the ones that are the most corrupt. Because when that was going on in New York, the police officer said that it was a black police officer, and he said that they actually brief them and tell them to racially profile people. So when Dave was saying about the race thing, that is not about race, it is about race. And some of the FBI's report came out that a lot of the Klan has infiltrated the police department. So we need to make them accountable to why are these people on the street, why are these people police officers if you know they came from an atmosphere like the Klan? And why are they being told to racially profile people? You got to put them out there on Front Street. If we're going to get them things done, they got to be exposed. They have to be exposed.
Right. Okay. Let me take this thing back to Ontario. Ontario, you have MHOC, an organization that you founded out in Little Rock, Arkansas. You do things in the community. And before I get to you, Ontario, what some people need to understand is that being a community activist is just not one day a week. It's just not one isolated incident or one incident that happens over and over and over. It's a 365-day job, and you cannot get tired. So all of these keyboard warriors and all these other people who rise when the emotions are high, but where are you when the emotions are down and these problems still exist? I want you to think about that. Ontario, when you are out in Little Rock, Arkansas, dealing with MHOC, and you can tell them what the acronym stands for, what is it that you see we can do all across this country to bring all of these people of like minds together to try to minimize these problems that exist? Otherwise, they're going to be bloodbaths on the streets of America. What do you think, Ontario?
Well, what I would tell my brothers and sisters is this, and I'm speaking not to offend anybody white, but I'm speaking to my brothers and sisters right now. You're not going to make friends with a racist person. A racist person is not going to love you because you're nice or because you're kind or because you try to convince them. So what I tell my brothers and sisters is the only way to change the hands of justice is to become an advocate and a servant of justice. If we do not get our young black men into our congressional seats, if we don't get them on this side of the bench to be judges instead of standing up in front of them being convicted, if we don't get them to be lawyers instead of needing representation, if we don't encourage them to become servants and replace some of these police officers in massive numbers, not just dribbles here and there. We have to start. This is going to be a cultural change, a generational change. It can't happen overnight. So we need to start bringing our children up to become public servants. Some of those terminologies like snitch, pigs, sellout, informants, these terms were used to embarrass black children from becoming police officers because police officers are a source of power. It represents power. It represents authority. And so we have been denied that access through embarrassment and shame and all that. But these are the only processes we can take to reverse the systemic brutality that is brought on by police officers and just the system in general. So until we get our young brothers and sisters to start applying at local, state, and federal government in that position of Congress and all of that, then these things will continue to occur because a racist-minded person is not going to stop being racist towards you because he understands it's not right. He knew it's not right from the beginning, and he still did it. So there's nothing you can say to him that's going to change his position. Not one thing. We as black people teach our children to get into these public service instead of going for football players and all the big contracts and money, because that doesn't yield power.
Right.
If we want power, we better go to where power comes from. And
exactly.
That's our Congress.
Exactly.
It's that very simple.
Yes, sir, Ontario. As always, brother, you can hear the passion. Let me take it over to Colorado. Dave, I'm hoping that you're still on the line. From the standpoint, Dave, of uniting people of like minds to get as close as possible as we can to protecting and serving people from all aspects of America. What is it that you feel we can offer, Dave, tonight for those who are out there listening and or encourage others to get involved and become motivated? Screech from the center. Talk to me about what is it that you think we can do to make this thing a little bit better.
I think we're doing a pretty good job getting the word out. That's always been my key, is trying to educate people to the best of our ability. So, just discuss these things amongst family, friends. Confront the people who fight back against that, and try your best to make your case. Because the only way that we're going to get past this sort of thing is if we instill that in the next generation and teach them to be better than we were. Not to backslide, but to be better than we were.
Right.
And that's really the only thing that I think of that we could be telling and doing.
Yeah, exactly, Dave, and you're exactly right. I mean, it's almost impossible to create overnight solutions to a complex situation. But let me take this to Nikki. Nikki, there's Aaron on the line. There is Ontario on the line. There is Pastor A.F. Riggins, my good buddy. He told me he thought. Let me, before I take it to you, Nikki. Pastor Riggins, I know you can catch on very well. You talked to me yesterday, and you indicated that you were so mad, you were so upset, you were so angry, you cried, you wanted to put your hands on somebody. I understand that the Spirit moved you, and you realized that you needed to back away, and you needed to go back to what consoles you, which was the Bible, and find some type of consultation there. A.F. Riggins, 24, 48 hours later. We're talking tonight about the brutality in 2016 on innocent lives being taken. I know that you can easily jump in this conversation. If you want to wait and listen a little while longer, I'll do that. But I want to give you the opportunity because I want to try to get around. We're looking at about 8:56. We got about another 30-some odd minutes. So A.F. Riggins, talk to me from what you felt yesterday to how you got to today, and what can we do as individuals lined up together that can create a coalition of people working for the same common goal, which is to make this thing better than what it is. A.F. Riggins.
Thank you, Baron. Thanks for allowing me to talk tonight. I know you're having a great conversation. As I told you earlier today, I'm probably going to come in a little bit late. I was watching the press conference yesterday that the family of Alton in Baton Rouge was
Alton Sterling.
And when his son started crying, and I was the same age as him, almost the same size and everything. When I saw that guy start crying, something inside of me broke. And I was sitting there, my wife was watching it, and I didn't want her to see me. So I just went out the room, man, and I started crying, and I started swinging at the air like I was punching somebody. Like I wanted to beat somebody up. And that was just a natural reaction, instinct reaction of that, like I wanted to just like knock those cops out or whatever. But that won't solve anything. Matter of fact, if I was trying to go do that, I'd have got shot dead. But let's do something that really matters. After seeing what happened to the guy in Minnesota, it's almost like that guy at that Cincinnati college last summer, when the guy was telling him to take off his seatbelt. He was trying to take off his seatbelt. While he was trying to take it off, he shot him right there in the back of the head. Same thing happened with this guy yesterday, meaning that they were trying to actually do one thing, and what they were asking them to do resulted in them just going on and shoot. President Barack Obama, I don't know if y'all talked to us about this tonight or not or whatever, because I just came on, gave a speech around about like 6 o'clock today. And in his speech, he said 2 things are wrong with this. Number one, the data is showing us that it is predominantly African Americans and Hispanics that's in these situations. Not only is it happening because it seems like that they're being targeted, but he says, then we send out the police. We do know there's some real good police and real good cops. We honor those who do serve well. We even honor those who get hurt in the line of duty, those who get killed. But then they put them in neighborhoods, but we've forgot about the neighborhood where there's poverty in the neighborhood, there's no jobs in the neighborhood, no one's investing in the neighborhood. The neighborhoods, and then we're gonna send cops over there who don't care about the people to try to guard those neighborhoods, try to round up those neighborhoods, and there's a problem with it. And that's why we have this conflict going on. I'm going to say 2 more things, and I'm going to be quiet and listen. And somebody already said this. Number one, Alton Sterling was a good friend of the owner of the place. Some people start recommending today that maybe the owner has him out there at night on purpose like that. You're selling CDs, man, good. It's late at night. I know you got a gun. Keep away all the riffraff. Because it was said that anonymously, a homeless person called in to say that he got ran off with a gun by him. That's what was said. And when you think about it, obviously he knew that he was out there packing, and he knew that, listen, I don't have to worry about getting robbed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, because Alton Sterling is on the yard selling CDs and packing. And so it was like he wasn't causing anybody any problems. He was there by permission of the owner. And though he ended up dead, and when you look at that second video, his head somewhere in his pocket. He just found it's like a in a hog at a butchery. Mm-hmm. Last thing I'm gonna say. If Donald Trump is elected, see, people don't understand. Not president. She's not hoping to be president, but Secretary said the other day, this is not about Republicans and Democrats. This is about who we are as a people. We elect this person. If he's elected, given what he says, he can write an executive order for there to be this racial profiling
based on who we might think might be a Hispanic person, might be an illegal immigrant, who we might think might be an African American, a riffraff, or who we might think a Muslim that's a threat. So with the executive order, remember now, the chief, the commanding officer, the commander in chief is the president of the United States, who is also technically the chief law officer, even though we said attorney general is, which means if he signs an executive order saying that we can take a racial profile, and I know he must have passed reaching, but no, I'm not reaching. Trump has a problem. He said, listen, they should have, like you posted on Facebook today, they should have had guns in Paris. They should have had guns in San Bernardino. They should have had guns in Miami. But then when this man gets killed, he says he shouldn't have had a gun.
Come on, Ed Riggins. Come on, buddy.
Come on. That's telling me, listen, this is, you go over to 1927, they arrested Fred Burke. Well, KKK activities in New York City. Can't play with me. And so what I'm saying is we know that racism is in the game, it's in the cards.
Uh-huh.
There's no such thing as race baiting.
Mm-hmm.
Race baiting is a false ideal when a racist or a prejudiced person don't want you to talk about what they're doing.
Come on, A.O. Come on,
so
buddy.
So call it what it is. And they go from false to killing the streets. Anyway, I digress.
So before you digress, A.O., before you digress, not putting your business out in the street, not putting your business out in the street at all, but you drive a very luxurious car out of Great Britain or a British vehicle. You leave the house, check your rear view mirror, check your fog lights, check your front lights, check your tail lights. Everything appears to be working. You're driving down the road going from Houston, Texas to the state of Florida. And somewhere in between Texas and Florida, you get stopped and you have to deal with an individual telling you that your tail light is out. In that scenario, which it happened to you personally, but we're bringing it close to home now because this is how we think now. This is how some of America fails to understand that when we walk out of the front door, when we get in a vehicle that we've actually purchased ourselves, we have to worry about things, be stressed out about things that other people don't even understand. Talk to me from that aspect, then we're going to open up the lines again.
Yes, sir. Now, I'm going to say something. I put your business out. You drive the same kind of car. Here's the deal, Barry. When I bought this car, it's a used car, but it's a luxury car. And I put nice little rims on and everything, and got the windows out, cleaning up and stuff. And I used to drive my truck around, going back and forth to work. Now, at least twice or 3 times a week, I get followed. I get followed on my route. They follow behind me,
and Elf, now, this is the same route that you've traveled for, what, 16, 17, 18 years or somewhere in that vicinity?
Well, I've been teaching school this for 3 years.
Okay.
For 3 years.
Okay.
I was driving my truck. Everybody got a Dodge truck. Everybody don't have a Jaguar, 2004. So yeah, I get followed. And they be following me. And I say, listen, look here, I'll be on the phone, I'll tell someone, I say, listen, right now they're reading my license plate. Because I'm an African-American guy, driving in a nice car, and they're reading my license plate. And they'll follow me. And what I'll do, I'll slow all the way down to the speed limit. If it's 30, and I've been doing like 32, 35, because you're going to get about 5 over, I'll go down like 28. So I make him follow me at a slow pace, 28 to 25 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour zone. So I'm showing what he's doing to me. And then he'll ride for a little while, and long enough to reach the place, and then pull off on the side of me, come aside and look over in the car at me, and then he'll speed off real fast, going past the speed limit like he's supposed to be doing, like 40, 45, like he's heard it go somewhere. I've been following me for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's because we get stereotypes, we get profiles. Because they don't know if I'm a drug dealer, they don't know if who I am, they don't know what I'm doing, and why somebody else could be driving that same type of car of a different color scheme, whatever, and they're not going to mess with them, but they're going to mess with me because it looks like that I've been in this neighborhood sometime or where I'm passing and what I'm driving. And this is what we deal with. If I get pulled over on a freeway in Mississippi with a light tail light out, I am in trouble. I'll tell you this and I'll close. In 1999, I went to go preach in Kansas City, Missouri. We rented a little white Toyota car. And the associate pastor was my god brother at the time, and I'm 5'7", about 175 pounds. He's 6'4", was like 230 pounds. And I went and preached. When I preached 2 services, and the pastor gave me a check for money, for part of the bill, and the rest was cash. And I put it all in the glove compartment. And I was driving back. I don't like flying, so we're driving back. Drove up, I was driving back, and I got tired. And I pulled over, coming through Oklahoma. I told my god brother, I'm going to let you drive. And I dozed off to sleep. About 30 minutes later, I woke up and I heard him stand outside the car talking. We got pulled over. And what it was, he was doing a 70 and a 65, or 72 and a 65, and he got pulled over. He's out there trying to explain to them that we were coming from me preaching. He was a social pastor, I was a pastor, and they was giving him the business. And I woke up and I said, hey, what's going on? They said, don't you get out the car, don't you move. Don't you move. Put your hand, we can see it. All this kind of stuff. And I say, man, look, I'm a pastor, man. He said, you're a pastor? He said, how do I know you're a pastor? Y'all boys be running drugs. Because you got a rental car here, a white car, y'all boys be running drugs. I said, sir, like I tell you what, I said, I open this glove compartment, and his glove compartment is going to be a check for me from a church. And I said, there's going to be some cash in there, too, because he paid me some of the cash. He said, what? He said, you should have been cashing on drug money? And the glove compartment came open. But the check was there. And so he says, all right, how do I know y'all to steal this? I said, man, I'm a minister. Let me tell you what I say. In my trunk, I'm a minister's license. I said, it's in my briefcase, though. So he popped the trunk, and he said, you're not going into the trunk, I'm going in the trunk. He popped up my briefcase. With all of my briefcase, I could tell him where to look at. He finally pulled out the minister's license. He said, well, y'all need to slow down when y'all coming through Oklahoma. Your boys need to slow down when you come to Oklahoma. Your boys. I told my social pastor, I said, man, let me drive. And I got back in there, I couldn't even sleep. I had to drive. This is what kind of stuff we deal with.
Well, I'll tell you, Nikki, let me take it over to you. What is it that you feel, and Pastor, I'm going to come back to you, so please don't leave because you're in the classroom. Nikki, what is it that you feel? I'm going to ask the same question to you, then I'll take it to Paul, and then I'll take it to Vanessa. What is it that you feel we can do to try to come together, come to terms, take out the emotions, bring in the logic, and deal with the realities of life so we can make this thing better?
Yeah, I'm just heartsick at the story the pastor just told. It's and I being white and raising kids. Nobody ever came into my neighborhood. I never had to tell my kids like Aaron's telling his boy. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote a book to his boy on how to try to survive being a black boy in America. How to just try to get alive, yet not lose his dignity. And so I hear Aaron, Barron, I know deeply how you feel. I hear Pastor Riggins, and I mean it's like it tears your heart out. You're going to ask me what it was like growing up in a different country. And I told you the day that the Huffington Post said if you want to live in America, don't be black or move to another country. I don't. There's no way. I think Black Lives Matter and Color Change ask you as a white person. They say simply, don't try to speak for us. You cannot. You cannot. Be an ally, support, and I'm left speechless. I know from having grown up in a deeply impoverished neighborhood, and I know about generational poverty, and I know about there used to be a saying in my neighborhood: the boys had started their juvenile career by the time they were 12, and the girls were pregnant by the time they were 13. I mean, and it was generational alcoholism and all of those things, and men out of work, and I understand that, you know. But in growing up in Scotland, there was a national health system, and so if your kid was sick, your child could go to the hospital, or if you're because you didn't need money, and you kind of knew, because the schools were good, that, man, if you worked hard, and I was one of those kids that worked hard, you knew that an education could, you know, if you're smart, there was a way to get on. And I look at our inner cities here, and I look at the poverty and the hopelessness and broken down schools and no services coming into the people, and for me, that's, I love what Angerio said, and I know what this organization is, you know, many hands, one circle. I mean, for me, talking as having been a very, very poor white girl, I mean, the help's it's got to start right there, you know, it's got to start right there. The people have to get empowered, you know, to, you know, the oppressor is never going to give it. You know, it's got to be taken, and the way out is catching our children young, you know, catching our children young and instilling. I know you've done it with yours, Baron. You know, I know you've done it with yours, Aaron. But all the other kids, you know, the kids whose fathers are in jail, you know, those kids, just level out the damn playing field, you know. You know, and that's where it's, you know, that's where I think you know, anyone with a heart, that's where the work's got to go.
Okay.
Where the work's got to go.
Okay, Paula, talk to me.
Darren, I grew up in the inner city, and it was multicultural, and I have never, ever had a problem. I've been pulled over lots of times, and they don't treat me the way that they treat a black person. Mm-hmm. I can talk to a cop and get off with a warning.
Modern day America.
Ridiculous. I was in a poor neighborhood in the inner city in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. I grew up with a lot of black people. I live in an area right now that's very mixed culturally, and I don't have any fear or prejudice or anything like that, but I know that when I get pulled over by a policeman, I'm not going to get killed. And I am.
And Paula, let me hesitate you right there. See, and that's what Pastor Riggins, that's what Aaron Hopkins, and that's what Angerio, and that's what any African-American male, Vanessa included. That's the fear that exists. It's not fear of being afraid. It's the fear that if you are crossed the wrong way, what will the end result end up being? See, and nobody should have to drive on a constant basis, 7 days a week. You know, some of us have, you know, vehicles. We don't even drive them simply because we would much rather stay out of harm's way. But you can end up eventually in harm's way. I just wanted to interject that. Go ahead on, Paula.
I do know people that have been harassed by policemen before, just because they were black. But when I grew up, it wasn't this violence. I mean, there wasn't the violence that there is today. One thing about Bernie Sanders, and I loved this about him, he said that we've got to demilitarize our police. We've got to put people of color in the policemen, is speaking of. People of color in the neighborhoods of color, and have it as a community situation rather than throwing a bunch of white cops into a black neighborhood where they don't relate.
Hey, Paula.
I agree with
Paula, just before you go, just got a message that said breaking crowd on the run downtown Dallas, reports of an officer shot at the protest march. I don't know, Aaron, you may want to check into that. You out in Dallas, but go ahead, Paula. Sorry for the interrupt.
That's all right. I'm just saying that as a white woman, I have never had a problem, but I know black people that have. And it's not fair, and I don't think that the policemen are trained correctly to deal with the situations that they're in. And I do believe that that policemen should be put into the communities where they can relate and become part of the community and serve and protect, but also become part of the area. And I think that's why that black policewoman on YouTube today was so angry. And she said, if you can't deal with people, if you are a white policeman and you can't deal with black people, you take that goddamn uniform off. I agreed with her.
Right. Very, very good statement. Pastor Riggins, and I'm going to go to Vanessa first, but it's a comment that was sent in regards to you. That is the fear I was talking about earlier. Just because of the color of your skin, you have to always be looking over your shoulder to make sure not one damn thing is out of place. No one should have to live like that. We all agree on that. Vanessa, talk to us.
If you don't mind, I like to tell a story.
Okay,
what can we do? Because that's kind of like asking the victim, what can we do about the criminal? The person that perpetrated the crime. But we've seen, me being 60 years old, we've seen a lot of racism. I've had it in my family for years. But my mother lost a child to racism. I never met my little brother. His name was Larry. He was in a house fire. And they got into the hospital, but back in those days, black people had to go around to the back. And they had to wait until all the white people were seen. So in that time frame, when they were in the back, waiting for them to check all the white people out, my little brother died. He was 10 months old. Exactly, to the date. He was born January 25th, and he died November 25th. And this is the kind of stuff that we live with every day. And I always looked at my mother because I knew she was broken. She had 15 kids, but she lost several children coming up. But it seemed like Larry's death was the worst because he didn't have to die. That was the problem. So a lot of us don't have to die, but we're dying anyway. And if we can get people to understand that if it was your child, it would be different. But you got to understand when it's us, that's what we're feeling. So when you say things like, when somebody says Black Lives Matter, and then somebody, oh, well, all lives matter. Okay, you need to understand where they're coming from. You know, we're not just out here just talking and being rude and, ticking off the cops. We have a serious problem in this country, serious. And if a lot of white people don't stand up and admit it and want to talk about it, like Nikki, I love her. Nikki will say, Nikki talks like I do, and she's not afraid to say it to other white people. But you just have so many white people that don't see the problem. They don't think it's a problem. So when we've lost so many people in our families, my uncle was lynched, my little brother died because of racism. This stuff stays with us forever. And that's all I want to say.
Okay. We have heard all the way from Colorado to Nevada to Missouri to Dallas, Texas, to Houston, Texas, Louisiana, and many other places. Before we go, we got about 8 minutes left. Is there anybody out there on the line who would like to join in the conversation? Anybody, you may do so.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say.
Go ahead, AF. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a son that's 20 years old, and my wife has a car that she got in 2007, and we graduated, she gave it to him. It was a 2007 Mustang. Almost any time that he's out and about, or sometimes when he's in college down in San Antonio, I get nervous sometimes, because I'm wondering if he's going to be pulled over. And see, the problem of it is, he's a good kid, he's quiet, but if he gets nervous or don't understand what the police are telling him to do, will he end up getting shot? That's what Vanessa was saying is what we live with.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen to our children because we can't control the situation because somebody out there is hateful and racist. The next thing I'm going to say is that I got a post on my Facebook, and I passed it on to the whole pastoral group and a bunch of other pastors that Congressman Cleaver is going to have a teleconference tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time with pastors all across the nation, African-American pastors, to put together a plan of action. This is one step forward, because no sense that just talking about it and preaching about it on Sundays and fussing about it. And we got to put a plan of action in place. We have to say, like Jesse Williams, we need to restructure their function, or I'll say by any means necessary, by Malcolm X.
Well, Pastor, we definitely need to do that. Again, I would like for you and the rest of us to lead some kind of effort. I see Aaron Hopkins did. Go out and check. The shots have been fired in Dallas. He just posted that. Again, I had a message that was sent to me that those shots have been fired. Again, we accomplish nothing when we act ignorant. We accomplish nothing when we act like the oppressor oppressing ourselves. We accomplish nothing when we take logic and reason out of the conversation. And whatever it is that you do, let it be done in a reasonable fashion, and let it be done in a way that is decent and in order. Again, we know that all of these things exist. We know that some of us, while we are out there doing what we're doing, we need prayers. I just asked Belinda on the live link to make sure that she pray for myself, Pastor Riggins, Aaron, and all those other ones that are out there. Ongerio, Vanessa, pray for Nikki, pray for Paula, because you have to have courage to do what we're doing. And a lot of people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. If you remain silent at this point in time, then you're either a coward or you're part of the problem. And either one is not good. So there are a lot of things that you can do. Your silence doesn't necessarily have to be with your voice. Your silence can be sending people inspiration, sending people your sympathy, opening your mind and understanding what other people are feeling. One thing I can say about Nikki, Paula, Dave Lamont, they try to put themselves in other people's shoes to try to get an understanding rather than just automatically dismiss. Well, he had a criminal record. Well, his light was out and he was trying to explain to the officer that he didn't know his light. Well, he was talking back. All of this stupid ignorance and all this other kind of, and I saw earlier where somebody was talking about race baiting. So I intentionally posted something. Can somebody explain to me what is race baiting? Because I really don't understand some things that people who are supposed to have a level of intelligence, I can't understand some of those things. And what I'm saying is this: Barren Glass line has been drawn in the sand. If you're talking to me and you're making excuses about what's going on, I'm going to tell you right then, our friendship is over with, because it's time out for excuses. And it's time to deal with the realities of life. The only thing I worry about is this, A.F. Riggins. I got a 23-year-old daughter that is as brisk as I am, if not more brisk, who stays in Mesquite, Texas. And I noticed her post yesterday, and I didn't even go on to respond to that. But I saw all of me in her conversation. I saw all of her defense, trying to just be logical and intelligent about the situation, but at the same time worried. And have a concern and passion about all of this wrongdoing that's going on. She spoke her mind. She was taught to do that when she was born. And I applaud her and any other kid that is doing the right thing. We have to be careful. We have to be mindful. And we have to look out for our kids. Once again, tonight we've been talking about a very tough subject. We've been talking about brutality in 2016 on innocent lives being taken. Is force too excessive? What can we do to tone down the hate and the brutality and get back to protecting and serving? We've been talking to Dave Lamont. We've been talking to Vanessa Gazi. We've been talking to Nikki Bedrick, Aaron Hopkins, Ongerio Cameron, and Paula Stafford. Thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We're going to go through this routine like we always do. I'm going to start with Ongerio Cameron. Good night.
Good night.
I'm going to go to... Go ahead, Ongerio.
Oh, I was just going to say, I wanted to make a comment real quick.
Go ahead.
One of the reasons that racist police officers become police officers is for that very reason. So when the woman was making that comment, the impassioned police officer who made that comment, that's the whole thing of it. They do put on these uniforms, and they go get them to extract their power, to insert their power and dominance over the black people. But again, we as African Americans, the one thing that we can do is encourage our people to become public servants, and to if we replace the bad police officers with good police officers, not just black ones, but they have to be good ones, good black ones who have moral values and principles, and who know how to consort themselves in a professional way. And that's what we have to do, I believe, to protect our community, but protect the larger community, in general.
Right. Once again, Ongerio, good night, John Boy.
Good night.
Nikki, good night, Mary Ellen.
Good night, Baron.
Vanessa, good night. I can't give you a name. Good night, Vanessa.
I'm going to say, don't call me John Boy.
My good friend, screams from the center, Dave Lamont, good night.
Good night.
Aaron Hopkins, good night.
Good night, sir.
A.F. Riggins, good night.
Good night, sir.
And Paula Stafford, good night.
Good night, Darren.
Now, everybody, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.